Staying on the subject of guns, AR-15s specifically, I have this to show you, then we'll get to an interview of George Santos defending this decision. Long Island Congressman George Santos has stunned, and this is from CBS News, the New York political establishment by backing a bill to make the AR-15 assault rifle the national gun of the United States. Making the AR-15 the national gun of the United States. Because, quote unquote, owning the libs is more important than actually acting to protect the lives of human beings, including young children at school. That makes sense. Obviously it doesn't, and it's so enraging. And then here's him justifying this during a recent interview.
One of the other bills that you're supporting as a co-sponsor is to make the AR-15 a national gun. Why is that a good position?
We have a national everything.
There's so many mass shootings.
I understand.
How can you defend that?
But Marsha, it's not about defending. Mass shootings have nothing to do with guns. They have to do with mental health because we have a bad health care system in this country.
And that's why the United States is the only country among comparable developed countries that sees mass shootings like we do and gun violence like we do. Oh, and we just happen to have way more guns and they're way less regulated. But guns have nothing to do with it.
But with mental health issues can get an AR-15.
Well, just by designating an AR-15 the national gun doesn't mean that it's wildly available. The laws are standing there. And the reality is when we're talking about people accessing guns, we need to make sure that we're holding accountable the point of sale. Are they upholding current existing laws? We have hundreds of gun laws on the books that are not upheld nationally. That's not the federal government's responsibility. Those are state localities that have to reinforce those laws. Goes to those gun shops and say, hey, are you reinforcing laws? Are you making sure that you're checking this and you're making sure they're not unregistered, that they're not terrorists, criminals with it's just there.
So you actually are telling me that you're supporting gun reform legislation?
It's not. I'm supporting gun reform legislation. The legislation's already there. I'm asking for the laws to be.
Yeah, that's an absurd point. It's so absurd. You can look on the books, the United States' gun laws, on the books federally and on the statewide state basis, barring a few blue states that are doing it correctly, has incredibly weak gun laws. And so you can't enforce laws that don't exist. And that's the job of Congress, is to implement new laws so that they can be enforced, so that we can protect human lives. And instead of doing that, George Santos and others, Lauren Boebert is a part of, maybe the author of that bill, they are spending their legislative energy trying to make the AR-15 that is most prevalently known for its use in mass shootings and slaughtering our kids. That should be the national gun, national, firearm in the United States. It's pretty horrific. And I do think it's just to rile up the left. And that's pretty, again, horrific to think that lawmakers are more motivated to enrage the other side than actually talk about common sense solutions to protect all people on all sides. Another moment from this interview, unrelated to that, about his lies.
So what do you say to your critics who were going to say, they raise questions about how you got there in the first place, that you didn't get there in a legitimate way?
Well, I got there in a legitimate way. I was elected by the people,
I
right?
know, but they're
and I have the First Amendment right? People can say whatever they want. It's not likable, right? But here's a reality.
The First Amendment right to say whatever you want and make up your own.
I didn't look
your own version of facts.
If you want to go off and rehash whatever the media puts out there, a lot of it has been dispelled. I've sent a lot of information backing and discrediting a lot of their reporting. They just don't want to report on it.
That narrative, because Trump created this, the media is fake and the media lies and the media this, that, and the other thing, which are there fake stories? We talked about one earlier in today's show. Yes. Is there fake news? There is fake news. Is it common for media outlets to mislead people? Absolutely. Fox News is a great example of that, and others. And the left is guilty of this, not as often, but definitely it's a problem as well. But because of that narrative, now even people like George Santos can just wave away things as that's the media narrative. Yeah, it's the accurate media narrative, okay? Just because it's a narrative on the media, by the media, doesn't mean necessarily inherently it's not factual. What you were saying about yourself and all the lies that you told, where you went to school, your family's origins, all these different things, people dying that you knew in a certain tragedy when that didn't actually happen. That was you lying, and it was accurately reported on. So don't give me this, the media is just pushing a narrative and you can believe it if you'd like. And then his First Amendment point, people do realize they can use their speech to commit crimes. They know that, right? It's not that he necessarily committed crimes with his lies, but just that general, I can say whatever I want within certain guardrails, such as you can use your freedom of speech to hire a hitman, and that would be a crime. Or in the case of George Santos, he may have committed crimes in defrauding people, and there are wire fraud related things that could be investigated. Trump might be guilty of something like this, where you lie about why you're fundraising, who you are, and all of that, and that can violate certain laws. Not that George Santos is going to go down for that necessarily, but there are absolutely ways that when trying to get into a position of power, you can use your speech to defraud people and in unforgivable ways. And that is what George Santos falls into for me, for sure. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to be a part of what makes this show possible, plus get access to the full video version of the show hours before all the clips are able to be uploaded to the YouTube channel, plus get the bonus show on the weekends, you can do so by going to lukebeasleyshow.com/membership. That's lukebeasleyshow.com/membership, and there's a link in the description.